we're going to move now to Daniele Ferrari, who is CEO of Versalis, and also chairman of Matrica, the 50-50 joint venture with Novamont on renewable chemistry. Dr. Ferrari is a veteran of ICI and Huntsman and in Europe. And under his leadership in 2012, Versalis started a strategic repositioning. And that's what we're going to hear about today, a really detailed story of how you manage a portfolio for growth after many years of neglect before you.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, and I particularly like the word veteran, to be honest. I mean, I feel after 30 years, yes, I am starting to become a veteran. And I wish I would be brilliant like Dr. Anne Morris said, but I started this I started this turnaround in Versalis when the company was losing 495 million of EBITDA. So you will notice that my speech will be tackling a little bit more fundamentals of transformation. So anyway, great honor to be here. Thank you very much to the GPCA for inviting me. Thank you, Dr. Sadoun. Last time I was here, the crude oil price was 110, and I spoke about green chemistry, if you remember. So maybe it's, who knows, I'm helping to change the situation. Now, this is the kind of things I was referring to. I'd like to remember that in every company, good or bad situation you have, there is always transformation going on, but there is always this kind of elements there. The only problem that we had to restore them. I mean, we had to restore the mindset, the sense of urgency, the innovation, all of the elements that makes a transformation to proliferate and to grow. And that was a difficult part. I think our company makes the roots in a prestigious history. I mean, we had a Nobel Prize for catalyst, we had a lot of discoveries, and it goes back into the 40s. So it was important to remember that our past brought us a lot of transformation for the good and for the bad. And I tried to give you some example of that, so we understand where we are going. I mean, the today called Versalis, in terms of industrial footprint or strategy, was really rarely designed with a strategic mindset. It was more kind of an opportunistic element or an opportunistic events, a series of events that grow up. And you see in the 60s, it was there was a lot of imposed acquisition. Around the 90s, there was opportunistic divestment without thinking what kind of disintegration you will create into the system. And then the year 2000 was more about squeezing out efficiency. And we'll see in a second how much is going to cause this kind of process to the people and to the organization. So the result was an unbalanced portfolio, not really in the right territories, not really in the right products, and definitely with an innovation process to be woken up again. But what I want to concentrate more, and what I'm going to talk to you today more, is about human capital, or is about people. Because as I rightly heard all this morning and the previous presentation, its transformation comes from the people. And if you start having this situation where the combined and cumulative effect of all these elements I was showing before are causing lack of a clear strategy, depressive innovation environment, you maximize or minimize opportunities, and then you start having people which are demotivated and not creating the opportunity anymore. So you start having this kind of what I call a regressive human capital spiral. So where do we have to start from this rather difficult situation? We started by making an inventory of where we are good at. So starting to think about okay, we have an historical background, we are a strong technology company, let's see what we can keep in good things, what we can bank and construct on those. So the extensive knowledge, the long and established relationship with key customers, the trust that we always embedded in people, and the recognition of the strength and the value of our people was the starting point of every transformation. So change management, I mean, this is clearly the most important part of the transformation, and it means a significant change of mindset from the leadership to every single operator in the culture and in the organization. So we had to identify and accept the limits that didn't allow us to evolve in the past. We had to recognize our strength, as I said, and capitalize to set higher goals. But more important is to shape a new and restored strategic vision. And I think there wasn't a better way to do that in 2012 by starting to change our name and identity. So we wanted to move away from a Polymeri Europa, which was really something which embedded the strategy over the last 20 years, concentrating on polymers while everybody else were diversifying, and concentrating on Europe while everybody else were going global. Move away from that concept and start thinking about our versatility, the possibility to be more flexible and more global, and all the features we wanted to achieve. So immediately after, or in parallel to that, was to shape up a new complete organization. We were almost aligned or organized more like a refining and marketing division rather than a chemical company. So market-driven innovation wasn't a concept that was permeating across the organization at all. And we were more asset-driven, or we were more efficiency-driven, which is not bad, but it has to be combined with the rest of the quality you want to instill there. So immediately, to adequately support the transformation, we started to complete a complete new organization based on business units. We link more directly the assets, the R&D, and all the commercial function align to each of the business units we choose to be active on. And clearly, each of the business units started to take their direction from the so-called mega trends that everybody knows and everybody obviously follows with a lot of care. So the strategy of each business unit was governed by a matrix, which is the application and the product capability, but always governed from the mega trends that are driving our industry. And this was an interesting migration. I mean, having people that didn't work under this organization for many, many years, it took a lot of effort to change their mindset, and some of them really couldn't make it. So you have to face the fact that other people couldn't make it in our organization. Therefore, here the three strategic pillars, and I think, I'm sorry, I just went too far. The three strategic pillars among which we expressed our organization were no rocket science. I mean, we looked in international development, strengthening the portfolio, and optimizing the footprint. There is a lot of details here. I don't want to focus on that. The only thing I want to make sure that is clear is that it requires an investment, or it requires your shareholder to support you, but also it requires a presence and visibility at each of the units you want to make this transformation. So roadshow, presentations, communication, it's very important. And something we did, we never let one single site behind. We tried to do with a lot of effort over the last 3 years with each of the single sites. I think what is the best way to gain confidence for your shareholders is to start showing good results. So we started from in 2012, where the company was basically subsidized by our group, because we obviously belong to a very large oil and gas company that you surely know. And the company was kept being capitalized year on year. We started to show good results. And definitely, this is the best way to gain credibility from your shareholders and to provide optionalities. Now, the most important point is that we are considering now is that we are not running the 100-meter sprint, but we are running a marathon. And therefore, all the effort that my team and myself are putting into this company now is to restore the growth and maintain the maximum mindset of evolution. The measure KPIs, I will leave you to read it if you want. Clearly, there are different size perspective, percentage of commodities. As we said, business service center going from 13 into 4 globally. We had 12 legal entities into Europe that we collapsed into one and make it a service center for the whole businesses. So all of the things that you all well aware of in case of restructuring. But the most important part for me was to make sure that the concentration on EH&S matters never stopped during this process. It's easy during the transformation to have your people, your workforce, thinking about their future, think about their job, being afraid of what is the change, and losing the concentration on the most important part, that is safety and environment. So our frequency index of injury went, during the 3 years of transformation, from 274 to 0.28, and it's still like that in 2016. So that's for me the most important part. Clearly, innovation is playing a very important role when you want to change your portfolio. Innovation in terms of renewing products, in terms of looking at issues, particularly in Europe, like circular economy, which is providing challenges and opportunities to our industry, but also to exploit strategic partnership. And I want to give you a couple of examples of how we did that. I take one on the raw material side. I mean, we clearly wanted to disengage ourselves from the unique and sole possibility to produce some feedstock by a large intensive invested petrochemical units. And we started to exploit, for instance, the biobutadiene route from sugar. And the chemicals from sugar is offering now the opportunity to produce C4 and butadiene, which is something that obviously helps us in the chain of elastomers where we are involved. And it's a process that we have developed in partnership with Genomatica, and we are definitely ready to license next year or to produce it ourselves in a pilot plant. This is interesting because I heard this morning that as the rubber producers, we were, by the way, in the graph, we were put last in the list, so I felt a bit sad about that. But I also heard that either we join a large oil and gas group, which we are already part, by the way, or we disappear. Now, I think there is a third option, which is a bit innovative, and it's about this. I mean, we've been working with a company called Ecombine, or with the EVA Rubber Institute in China, and starting to think about how to produce a new type of elastomers which will cope with their special machine to make solid blending in terms of compounding rubber for tire manufacturers. And this is very innovative because it's clearly a cut-through in terms of the technology. And we want to continue to work like that to preserve our technology innovation. The other example is how to make a relatively commoditized product like polyethylene more interesting. And we have started to, from our work we did on guayule and on other vegetable oils, we started to process them into smart packaging and obtain innovative products that give antimicrobial characteristics. And this is the kind of innovation I try to do. But also not forgetting we are a technology company, and this is the last example. We also work on one-step technologies to produce ABS, and this is particularly relevant when you talk about 3D printing or product that we heard mentioning this morning. So this kind of innovation is important, and it helps us to change the culture and to change the mindset of our R&D staff and our R&D managers. But a couple of concepts on transformation leadership before I close. For me, it's a particular topic because it's fundamental to build a proactive leadership team in order to carry out the transformation. And the leadership team needs to be resilient, needs to be tireless, needs to be very strong, and we don't have to forget the particular skills of each of them, but try to play with the complementarity of those talents to make a very strong and cohesive team, because this is a mission that has to start and finish with a good results. So, talking about leadership styles, for instance, you know that every time you go around your site, you announce a closure, you announce a new introduction of products, you monitor the climate of your people, and this is clearly a qualitative graph, but it tells you that during a transformation process, there isn't a constant climate, but there is always an up and down, because you sometimes announce a restructuring, sometimes you announce a new investment. So people will go up in their mood, or people will get demotivated. Now, I think I've always tried to get my team, and myself first, to mix our leadership styles in order to cope with these situations. I mean, it's no good to impose your leadership style to a situation, but it's good the opposite. So, and this is important particularly, it's always important, but it's important in the transformation of a company, because the organization will perceive that as closest and careful management. In conclusion, okay, we have delivered essentially a company which has a stronger, international recognized company, hopefully, and proactively within the chemical industry, but also we have provided to our shareholders now a wide range of optionalities that were not present before. So not only achieving the profitability 1 year before we say that, but also providing optionality for them. What I want to conclude here is to say that the mindset that we have awakened again, they need to become now part of our DNA, and it needs to be elements that are mastering our transformation today, but are remaining, because our industry is evolving so fast that these kind of things will help us to cope with the future challenges. Thank you very much.